What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to do a little thought experiment. I want your guys' opinion. I know I had a little bit of a difference of opinion versus my chat when we watched this THQ live stream. But I want to do some basic math and talk about what could be going on with The Last Ronin. I'm honestly pretty darn scared, and it really goes back to what we've heard about this game and what's happened behind the scenes with this game for a while, right? It was announced 2 years ago, nothing since then. We did get positive talk, but that was a year ago in March, okay? And that's a long time from last March to now. It's a year and 4 or 5 months, right? And then also, we know right before last March, they fired half the staff of the studio, Black Forest Games, that was working on The Last Ronin. Now, this is all stuff we've talked about leading in. I did a predictions video where I talked about The Last Ronin at this THQ event, and I mentioned that. I don't think you can lose half your staff without something bad happening. And even if it was good around that time, again, it's been almost a year and a half, a lot of stuff can happen since then. Now, what is the most alarming to me, and this is just the way I'm counting, this is the way that the words are arranged, they could be wrong. THQ could have messed something up in this picture, okay? I want to give that as a possibility because, by the way, I don't want this game to be canceled. I don't want there to be trouble, but I'm starting to think there's some pretty big issues here. So you look at this picture. I've had it behind me. I'll show it here. So there's two important numbers, right? So there's 28 games that they're working on, and then there's 15 that are unannounced, okay? 15 that are unannounced. Now, that's the big important part. Okay, so a couple things you have to do. Number one, you have to label stuff. So is The Last Ronin announced? I think it is. I personally think it is. Now, to be fair, the way that these things go, sometimes that can change. Like Darksiders was officially announced last year, but now when they just did it, today, yesterday, whenever you guys are watching this video, when they showed it again, which by the way, it looked awesome, it's now talked about in the press as, oh, they officially announced Darksiders 4. Well, no, they officially announced it last year, but I don't know how people classify these things. So I guess to be fair and to leave the door open, what do you classify The Last Ronin as? Is The Last Ronin an unannounced game, or is it announced? I would classify it as announced game. They showed a trailer. They showed a picture at the end. It said in development, and it's The Last Ronin game. Okay, so I would classify that is an announced product. But I would have thought Darksiders was announced last year, and maybe THQ does not consider that. Now, why I spend so much time talking about it is really the kicker, the thing that makes it very scary. 28 games in development, 15 are unannounced, so that leaves you with 13, okay? So you say, all right, 13 games. Is The Last Ronin one of those 13? No, the picture, if you count every single game, which is what they showed today, 13 games. 13 games exactly. So, I mean, it kind of just leads us into the circle back, forth. It cannot be considered one of these 13 games. So it has to be considered an unannounced game. It's got to be one of those 15. And if it's not one of those 15, then it's not there at all. And that, again, just leads me back to you lay off half the staff a year and a half ago. Have they rebounded? I don't really care if positive things were said right after. I care about if things are happening today, yesterday, a month ago. Like, is the game okay this year? That I honestly don't know, and that I would be much more scared about. And there's really nothing more to it than that. I want this game to come out. I love the studio. I think they did such a great job with Destroy All Humans. I think this is something that you kind of want to see. A studio that does a few remakes. They're very good at it, and then they're capable of doing their own thing. Now, honestly, maybe they should have just done a legitimate, because we didn't really have it, a Destroy All Humans 3. Stick with that. But, I can appreciate doing Destroy All Humans and then jumping to The Last Ronin. I'm fine with that. I like the studio. I've always liked that studio. And I don't want, firstly, I didn't want half of them to be fired. And secondly, I want their games to come out. So I'm wishing for the best. It's just, again, the language. If The Last Ronin is considered an unannounced game, then yes, it could be one of those 15 and we could be cool. As people have also brought up to me when I've talked about this is, if it restarts development, what is that class? And again, I think that's just definitions. If when they did that layoff and there was positive talk, if, say, in the last year they restarted development, okay, then it's probably considered an unannounced game again. It almost reverts back, right? So, like, okay, it no longer exists. So maybe it's that. Like I said, with Darksiders, that leaves the door open. Up until today, was Darksiders considered an unannounced game? Was that one of the 16, right? Because say it transferred numbers, right? So there's 15 games now, but say yesterday where there's 16 games and Darksiders was considered one of them. I don't think it should have been considered one, but maybe it was up until today, and now they take it off and they say, okay, this is a game in development, but it's announced now. Well, you announced it last year. So again, back, forth. I think it all depends on the language. I kind of do lean that there's problems because the numbers make sense, at least to me. And then again, you lay off half the team. What do you expect to happen? Like, what would your odds be, right? You lay off half that studio. Would you say, just looking yourself in the mirror, do you think that game is more okay or more in a bad position after doing something like that? And you answer that question. I feel like most people would say it's in a worse place now. And I don't think that's wrong. By the way, I feel like no matter what happened, that was going to happen regardless. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.